Good science, by definition, allows for more than one opinion. Otherwise, you merely have the will of one man, which is the basis of cult.
If it's not in the frame, it doesn't exist.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown and you lose it?
Where you been?
Drunk.
Wendy, darling, light of my life.
What's your one purpose in life?
To explode, of course.
I like death with sex. How about you, Casey? You like sex with death?
Yeah, so fuck up and die.
You know, I don't have anything fun. I was
don't
gonna
know.
try to come up with like,
A little-
you know, like a big fat doobie or something fun. I don't know, man.
That is fun.
Basically though, I don't want.
I was gonna say slow ride.
I was just about to say I do not.
Easy.
No, please, A, we can't afford it, and B, nobody needs any of this music. I'm so like that's the one thing I'm coming out. I'm coming out right
that's
now.
you too. I know that.
I'm gonna preface. I
He
love
hates
the aesthetic,
70s rock and roll. He hates
but
it.
I hate 70s rock and roll. I hate it so much that it really it like knocks a star down just because like it's just personal preference.
I like
So
it,
why
but this
everyone loves
movie, I mean,
But,
it's fine. I wouldn't listen to it in my free time, but
In your free time,
yeah.
God.
But like, you know, if it comes on, like this movie's got like every good song from the 70s, so it's like all I need to do is just watch this movie, and just be fine with it.
I kind of got a little frustrated though because when you do needle drops that are so like even just like verbally specific for what's happening in the scene,
Yeah.
It just definitely doesn't age well for me, and I don't like it. It's like the Enron movie that we
Yeah.
watched. The Enron documentary was
The
like
best
the
part.
same thing.
You're just a hater, Jordan. You're a
like
hater on
needle
on
drops.
needle drops.
I'm not a big needle drop fan. Sorry.
Anyway,
Even though Scorsese does it okay, because it's not like Scorsese doesn't have like there's not a song that comes out that's like beating a hooker now. Like it's not like stabbing this mob guy. Like it's
Not
not
yet.
A song.
Can
It's
we-
not a song
I'm gonna-
about the action that's happening in the movie.
That's what I'm gonna do with my band. Is I'm gonna definitely just start writing songs that are just actually just describing what's happening
That's describing
in
yeah, just like-
Scorsese movies.
Like, it's like there's that Scorsese movie. The song's like Ray Liotta's having a panic attack. Like there's nothing like
He's
that.
the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah. Look, he's not a physical wolf. He's a human being, but it's a metaphor. Like they don't. There's no. That's why it's like when it's like school's out for the summer and like people are literally leaving school.
That's how it
I
always
just
goes.
sometimes
How many
roll my eye.
times? Go to the Reddit. Let us know how many times the needle has dropped that song at the end because it does the same thing in like Scream or something too. And I swear to God, like every teen horror movie where they're like "School's out" and it's like the bell rings and everyone's like,
Simpsons did it. Simpsons did it. Everyone's done it.
All right. So this is the Cult of Cinema Knowledge podcast. You know, you clicked on it. It's funny we said
Welcome.
there was no preamble, and then we preambled the longest.
Preamble shit.
'Cause
You didn't introduce me though. Who are we?
Oh yeah,
Who's here?
That's Jordan, and I'm Levi, and
Yeah.
we're your movie cult hosts, I guess. This,
I guess that's right.
if you haven't
you've
figured
never
it-
introduced me like that before.
Cult host, yeah. If
Ew.
yeah, you don't like that. So if you didn't realize it already, based on just context and or the title of the thing, we're talking about the movie Richard Linklater's '90s film Dazed and Confused.
If you're just
I'm
you're
just getting into it.
in a coma right now, and
We're in a coma. We're
for
talking
some
about
reason,
Dazed and Confused.
The RN just turned on podcasts. and we came on.
This is. Thank you. That would be great. I wish there was just like we're coming to the top of the podcast shuffle, baby.
I know, just some orderlies like I don't know. Here's this crap.
I know, and then the guy's just like, "Wait, come back."
It's like, please
Come
come
back.
back.
But-
Pull the plug.
But then he's like, "Oh wait, this I remember the '70s. Dennis
Oh,
slow
hell.
ride."
Oh, he took a
Take
slow
it
ride,
easy.
baby.
Uh,
Bob Dylan's song.
Anyway,
I don't know any of it.
So it's funny because I actually went bowling right after I watched this movie, and the soundtrack in the bowling alley was like identical.
It literally probably was just
It was.
Spotify Dazed and Confused. Like,
It was literally.
yeah.
I actually had this soundtrack on CD back in high school, just because it
That's
somehow.
unfortunate.
Well, it just showed up. I don't even know where it came from.
yeah.
It came from like the DI or something. So I was like, yeah, I'll buy that for $1, you know? And it was like,
Yeah.
but anyway. So we're talking, obviously, we've been doing directors. This week was Linklater. Everyone gave a resounding vote for Dazed and Confused, which initially I was like, I'm not surprised because I know this movie is like a cult following. But also, like, I'm like, it's not his best. And I remember I watched it, like, what was your initial impression? Because you've seen this before, right? Because I watched it back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
I remember being like, oh, this is overhyped. This is boring, but whatever. It's fine. And I like Linklater, everything, all the other stuff he'd done up to this point. You know what I mean? I don't think I'd seen Slacker yet, but I probably had seen a handful of others.
I had a father who was not, he didn't like, this wasn't his favorite movie, or like, this was, oh my God. He liked this movie a lot, not necessarily because it completely represented his life, but that nostalgia. He was, you know,
well,
kid,
right.
God, I don't know how old he was. He was probably like 12 or something, and then right, he was born in like I think 65 or some shit. So he was probably like 15 or something around this time, or not even. What is that? Like 11, 12. Anyways, so he's a kid, but he's old enough. He's old enough to remember this time period, and he had older brothers, and it's like this. Like that's what rules about this movie is it you can put like the social dynamics of all these characters. You can find little tidbits from each group,
right,
and be like, oh, this kind of reminds me. It's like a little, like, depending on your age. So I saw this originally when I was like, this probably was my first Linklater movie that I ever saw, and I was very young. I was like 12, and so I didn't really care or get it, you know.
Yeah.
I liked the cars in it; those were cool. And it's like I thought like them being stoned was funny.
Yeah, I watched it when I was like 15, and I was a big stoner, and so I thought everyone was like, "Oh yeah, dude, that's like a." And I feel like two people really enjoy this movie: is people who were alive during the time period, so like boomers mostly, and then people who were in high school in the 90s when it came out, because at the time. There wasn't like as much stuff for that, and it's just like so kind of like down to earth. It's not like an overt sex comedy like Animal House or something.
I know, and
it's like
I
a chill.
remembered it as that, but it's totally not. It's like, kind of like the anti.
Yeah, it's
like
much more just like chill,
like stoner comedy.
Yeah,
yeah.
And so because the person who in my life that loved it was my Uncle Josh. And he's like a Gen Xer, 100%. So he was in high school when this came out. And so I mean he was a big stoner too, so I feel like he just loved it. But
I'm surprised we didn't get anything from Travis either.
I know this is probably right up his alley because he's 100.
Yeah.
Sky, I still don't, we just made that joke one time. I don't know how old he is.
Travis, I don't know how old you are.
Sorry, Travis.
Travis, you're young. You're nubile, baby. I don't even know. You're like,
so,
what are you, like 14?
Before we get too deeper, I'll give you. It was my week to write a synopsis, and I wrote one, but it's very, very short. Well, it's probably longer than it even needs to be. So, for those of you who have not seen it or only remember the vibes and don't remember like the very minimal plot, here it is. So, Dazed and Confused, written and directed by Richard Linklater, follows a group of teenagers on the last day of school before summer and into the night of partying that follows. The film loosely follows many of the youths, especially freshman Mitch Kramer, as he is terrorized and hazed by older boys before falling in with Randall Pink Floyd, a star player on the football team that is having some second thoughts about his future and authority in general. When the big kegger is canceled, the teens wander aimlessly, waxing philosophical, until a new party is put together by the Moon Tower. Young Mitch Kramer hangs out with some older kids, gets kind of drunk and high, and even fools around with a girl. It's the night of his life. Pink decides he doesn't want to sign a moral declaration that has been hanging over his head, possibly jeopardizing his football aspirations, but to him, his personal freedom and being true to himself is the ultimate prize. In the end, life goes on. For some, the night is one to remember, for better or worse, while for others, it's just another chill night on the town, bro. That's it.
That's
it's
fun.
like,
That
you know,
captures the
Mitch
vibe.
Kramer, like he's going to remember that as like such a cool life that shaped his formative years, and Ben Affleck's character is like he's just sad because he's stupid and he failed. He got left behind, and so
right.
he's doing 12th, repeating his senior year and beating young kids obsessively.
That's what I love. That's what I love is like all the archetypes of this exist and like they just like it's wild because we look at this as through a lens, 50 years old, and we're like it seems so extreme. Like, so this is the first time Victoria's ever seen this movie.
Yeah.
And the whole time she was like, do people do this? Was this, or was it? It's like she clearly knows that like that is a realm of possibility. Hazing exists. All this exists, but like it's like just even in the movie they comment like, oh man, I can't believe your parents just allow this to happen. Like allow like grown-ups basically like
I think it's
kids
more
who, like, seniors to go to a junior high and like taunt them, over a blowhorn. And dude, all of that, everybody out there in podcast land, please, just if any other podcast you want to, go to our subreddit and look at the video I posted. It's a wonderful little like 30-minute commentary on this movie, and Linklater explains this is 100% autobiographical.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was
like. It's every single detail in this movie literally happened to him.
I figured he was Mitch because that tracks with his age.
Well, but that's the thing though. That's what's beautiful. That's like the most beautiful thing about making a film. He's everybody.
Yeah.
He literally put pieces of himself. But yeah, he was basically Randall and Mitch. The reason they get the most lead time is because that was him. That was like the duality of him. That was his like.
That makes sense.
It's funny because Linklater, his past in high school, he played baseball and football. He played both, and he literally dropped out of football because of the social pressures of football. And so it's like all of that, like,
that makes sense.
Like accumulated to him.
I know that's interesting because Mary, I was talking with my wife, and she was like, "There's no way this is real," and I'm like, it's probably not like that common, but I get it happens to a handful of people, especially back then. And I feel like it's so baked into our like cultural lexicon because these stories are the ones that always get like made into movies and stuff. Because without these elements of like kind of hazing and like parties and stuff like that, then what really happens is just way more boring. It's just all the same shit just without that. Because we asked, because we were on my way to her mom's house, and her mom is early to mid 60s. And she graduated high school in 1977.
In 76? Oh, it's 77.
So
nice.
she would have been one of the juniors going into seniors in this movie. And Mary was like, "Hey, so was your life like the movie Dazed and Confused?" And she's like, "Yeah, actually, sort of. It was just more boring because it was in a small town in Ohio, but we just kind of drove around all the time trying to figure out what to do and like all this and like it was definitely the vibe. So I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I don't know, I buy it. But
no, that's totally like that's what my dad always told me is like this is like it's like it's real. Like that's what we did.
I think the thing that just misses we'll see now it would just be instead of the seniors beating the other ones, it'd just be like a school shooting or something. It'd just be like the more modern. Right. That's how you modernize it. It'd just be Elephant instead.
It's just Elephant. Oh my god, that's a great movie.
Yeah.
No, but it wouldn't be that extreme. It'd just be online. It'd be online bowling, and no one would go to a party. Yeah. There wouldn't be a field party. It would just be like 6 kids in a backyard at a pool, and then online bowling.
It'd be like the Goths or something. But that's why I'm like, I was like, yeah, this movie's fine. It's just not really for me because I don't fit in those two demographics. Like, I can appreciate the chill slice of life. I'm gonna say slice of life a lot, probably, and the chill slice of life vibe. But I'm like, if they basically remade this movie of just like a high school kind of coming of age, but like replaced it with a bunch of, in the mid 2000s with a bunch of emo kids and juggalos and stoners, then I would probably love it, because it's just like, that's my formative years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm actually, like, oh, I remember that.
I was just commenting this nostalgia about there's a TV show or whatever, Netflix.
Set a fog hat. It's like Blink-182, like.
Right, exactly. Well, no, that's the thing, dude. If you watch this Netflix show, shameless plug here, I guess.
Yeah, I've heard it's good.
Called Beef.
Yeah.
It is like, it's weird to all the like nostalgia music and stuff is like music that we listened to in the early 2000s.
Oh yeah,
like,
we're the old ones
late,
now,
late 90s, early 2000s, and you're like, I'm like hearing it, and I'm going, oh my god, this is it. This is what my parents were like feeling at this age, like when they were watching movies. And it's like people in the 90s were making movies about their childhood in the early 80s or late 70s. It's
exactly.
I'm like, oh okay, here we are. This is it. Like this
I
is
know.
how
I want the
it goes.
where's our generation's Linklater though? Doing the more like I'm curious.
Yeah.
Really though, what is our generation's equivalent to Linklater? Because
I mean, the closest thing I can, like, this is what I compare this movie to is Superbad.
oh,
I give
100%.
I give Superbad like.
But even
it's
then,
like
that's like Gen Xers. That's supposed to take place in the early '80s.
Is it? Was the
That's what I heard. That's what I remember hearing. But it's like the movie is made pretty timeless.
it's okay.
Like,
Okay.
but
I would have assumed it was like early '90s, but
yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe
Okay.
early '90s. That actually makes more sense for Gen Xers. Actually, I'm getting for early '90s. Yeah,
right.
because I always got to remember. I'm like my mom, because my mom graduated in like '92. So, God.
yeah.
But so that makes sense. That's when she's in high school, late '80s, early '90s. But I don't know. But yeah, Superbad's the closest thing. But God, how long ago did Superbad come out? It's been out for like 15 years or something.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly what I was thinking too when I compared this movie to Superbad, and then we were watching this movie, and I'm like, well, God, it's really nothing. It's like the vibe is kind of like
it's
that.
such a
where you
more
just-
hard
it's
comedy. Like Superbad is like jokes.
Yeah, right.
There's no
Right.
really that many. There's like hardly any jokes in Dazed and Confused. Like there's a couple like kind of funny situations and stuff, and like the guy delivering the kegs early and like all that like shenanigans.
Right. That's a good bit. Like the stuff with the parents, that's like fun and cheeky
Yeah.
kind of stuff where the dad opens the door and he's got the, he's doing the power stance and like the kids are like, nope. And they turn around. Like that's gold.
fun.
I chuckled,
Yeah,
that's good
it's
stuff.
it's all fun
But
because it's like
kind of
we're all
whimsical, like,
teenagers, but it's not Superbad
right.
where everything's like has a punchline and it's like ends in a dick or a titty joke or something, which is I mean Superbad's great. It's not a diss. I probably prefer Superbad, honestly.
No, I think I would too, but only because Superbad there's more of an emotional connection and you're following like an actual story.
Well-
where this movie is literally a vibe. Like it straight
It's
up
vibes.
does nothing but, and that's what's so cool is like Blackers.
My plot
his first
description is
movie-
generous.
Yeah, honestly though, really, like there really is no.
It's loose.
It's just like scenes go from scene to scene, and it's basically just what. Oh my God, what does it say too? Is it homage to Hitchcock at the beginning? It's like what is it like? Can't even remember 1 o'clock or something like 1:05 p.m. or something. It's like right at the end of the school day, and then that's where it starts, and then it the movie ends at like 7 a.m. or something.
Yeah.
When they're driving. So yeah, it definitely like there's no like true emotional core. It's all nostalgia. It all builds on that. And that's what Linklater even said in that video is like he's like this movie's built on nostalgia, even though he's like I don't want it to be like looked at fondly, but he's like it's gonna be nostalgic because he's like I put it to film. It's there, it's like you light it, you have the music,
and
you attach that. But he's also like he didn't want this to be super glorified,
yeah,
which is cool because that's the vibe I get with the characters because a lot of them are kind of like, especially Pink,
Pink, and a lot of the other like
definitely,
shittier characters, like you can tell they're kind of miserable because they don't know what they're doing with their life,
Right.
like the bitch cheerleader and all that's trying to like shame the other girl.
I know, right. Like,
Well,
and I love the line, dude. The greatest line in this is that, like, when he's just like, "If these are the best days of my life, I'm gonna kill myself." Like, remind me to kill myself.
Remind me.
It's like brutal, dude. Yeah.
Well,
That
it's
explains the whole movie
interesting.
right there.
I know it's cool because it's like I think maybe we're looking at it through a lens of more modern of like we're super jaded by movies and TV shows trying to be nostalgic because so many things are trying to capitalize on that now. But back in the early 90s, maybe not as much. And so I think that's probably why this rang such a chord for so many people when it came out is because, things have always been sort of cyclical. Like, like you said, like Linklater in the early 90s is making a movie about his upbringing in the late 70s. Like, that's always kind of been a thing. But this is like, I feel like maybe one of the big times in film, especially like independent film being more of a thing in the 90s, where it's like, oh, this is like full-blown nostalgia is the main effect. And at the time, that was like kind of refreshing and kind of cool. And like, and the chill nature of it, like had like kind of was very like bittersweet. Whereas now everything's trying to tap into that nostalgia and has been for the last 10 years. So when we hear, oh, it's very nostalgic, I feel like my cynical mind is like, oh, like I don't want that to be the driving force for a movie. But I feel like back then it wasn't a cash grab. Like this movie obviously was not a cash grab, even though we'll find out.
Well, no.
What I'm curious what it made and stuff. But
I know, and I have some interesting. Oh my god, there's a statistic that I was trying to get, but I couldn't find it anywhere. But I could look harder. But anyways, I totally agree. I think that this was the early '90s when indie film was just blossoming. So like that whole idea was like brand new.
that was like
where
the
you could-
biggest boom in film history, probably is the early
right.
90s.
I mean, I guess you could consider like
digital
the
age.
1910s. The
Yeah,
1910s
sure.
were original, but that's just when film.
Well, it's everything, and you know,
Yeah,
each
right.
one has a big boom.
But-
the '70s had like a boom of that, but like '90s is when it
Right.
really was like popping
Well,
off. and-
90s is when this is actually considered a studio film, even though it's a very indie budget to today's standards, even for the 90s, in my opinion. But anyways, a lot of the licensing or the money went to licensing for music, obviously, because this soundtrack's wild.
I'm sure that's where
But then-
a lot of it went. Yeah.
But then the soundtrack made a fuck ton of money. So, anyways,
I
kind of
was gonna
balanced
say,
it
like
out,
I
and
said,
that was
I
like-
had the soundtrack and it just showed up. So I imagine it probably sold a bajillion copies, and one of them just fucking happened to find its way into my Bronco in high school.
But
You know,
yeah. Well, I wanted to like kind of punctuate your like statement there and your sentiments. Like this was capturing nostalgia, and it's a true anti stoner comedy. Where like the fucking oh my god, the Breakfast Club dude, whatever what's his name? Oh my gosh.
I forget.
Oh my god, it's right there on the tip
I
of my
need to
tongue, goddamn
rewatch
it.
Breakfast Club. I've only seen it the one time in the dark age, and I barely remember it. So
That fucking guy. But he like all the movies that he's making. Oh my, it makes me so mad.
the
I can't
director
think of his name now.
John Hughes.
Is Hughes? Yeah, John Hughes. Yeah, I think you're right, John Hughes.
Right? I thought you were
All
talking
the-
about the character, and I was
No,
like,
no,
I
no,
don't
no.
fucking know the stoner guy. I okay.
No. I'm just that's what I'm saying is like this is a rebuttal.
Yeah, John
to
John
all
Hughes.
John Hughes movies.
Yeah, John Hughes.
And I think that's where it's like, his like where John Hughes kind of existed, and he was trying to be earnest, but he also like was the product of his time, and he was just telling that story. Even though I
This
don't know, the
does
Breakfast
feel
Club,
this does feel like a response to the '80s John Hughes of where it's
Right.
just like, it's like super happy, optimistic. It is looking back on it with
Right.
more of a, like a positive,
if not-
optimistic,
if not-
romanticized certainly lens.
right.
And
right,
Dazed and
right.
Confused is just like, it was boring. Sometimes it was cool. Sometimes it was
Yeah.
frustrating. Oftentimes
people
it
were
was
like-
bullshit for a lot of people. You know, and that's high school,
Yeah.
buddy.
And that's what I loved is like
Some
like,
people were assholes.
all
Some
the-
people were cool.
all the dynamics. I mean, my favorite. So I watched it again. I watched it when I was young. Then I watched it again I was probably like 20 or something, and I really like. Or no, I watched it in high school. Anyways, and so like I really connected with the three kids, the redheaded girl and the two friends.
talking about Breakfast Club still.
No, not Breakfast Club. Sorry, back to Dazed and Confused.
Oh, okay.
The-
I was like,
It's like the three
The nerds?
redheaded girls, Cynthia and the nerd. Yeah, and Tony.
Yeah.
And what is it?
Yeah, I like
can't
the
remember his
nerds.
name.
because they're like, oh, we're gonna go out on the town, and they're like, well, what if we got some alcohol? Like,
Right. Well, that's yeah, and they just like I feel like they're definitely a part of
well,
Linklater.
yeah, because what's that dude's name? He
my
was
God.
really familiar too.
the one with like the curly hair.
Yeah, the one that he's like,
black
I'm not
hair.
gonna become a lawyer because that was one of my
yeah,
favorite
that's my
conversations.
favorite-
Like, I
that's my
actually just
favorite line.
hate people,
Hate-
you know?
I hate
Like-
people. Yeah. And then
He's like,
then
I
he's
just want
what
to
do you want to
dance.
do? I just want to dance.
See, that was a good joke
I
too,
love it.
and it was a good.
Yeah.
That was the scene that felt most Linklater to me, coming
Right.
from something
Dude,
like
sitting in a
Slacker,
car.
like
Yes. Well, and the dream too. When he's like, I got to tell you about a dream because it's like
It's
that's Linklater 100%.
top
The
A,
motherfucker.
sexy chick, yeah.
Yeah. Like a sexy
Who's
body
got
with Abraham
Lincoln's
Lincoln's face. But dude, it's like that's conversation right there is so Linklater.
And that's just
And
so just like
I appreciate
regular. That's kind of what Linklater does so well in so many of his movies. is just like capture this really natural type of dialogue that's like weirdly kind of heightened with like philosophical. It's like it is like those conversations you have with your friends that like seem really deep but kind of also don't mean anything. Which he kind of walks that line really well. But then he turns around and makes shit like fucking Scanner Darkly, and then also like School of Rock. Like that dude is everywhere. I love it.
He is everywhere. We were just looking at his credits before. He did Bad News Bears.
Yeah,
like
the with Billy Bob Thornton, the remake.
What? Oh, what an awkward. Like, I mean, I guess it's like he loves baseball. And the motherfucker plays.
I think
baseball
you just
forever,
do
so.
kind of anything. Like he's just like, yeah.
I
I'm
mean,
kind of bummed the Before trilogy didn't win, and but we're gonna have to make that a bonus and just watch the whole trilogy because
we're gonna have to.
That's kind of got everything.
I've never seen it. I'm a poser and
good.
stuff.
I wanted to watch. I was hoping Slacker kind of would win, but I don't know, because I haven't seen that one in a while. But like, that one's the most the loosest, just like artsy film student one.
Oh,
well, that and Waking Life, obviously. So
Slacker, but like I feel like.
But I mean, his
Waking Life
his DNA is all over his movies. But it's like this. It does feel like I did still really like this movie. It just didn't like. I only gave it 2.5 stars because I found it pretty boring, and it just kind of didn't connect with me. And it's because I can see the nostalgia and I can appreciate the kind of chill vibe and like the anti-stoner comedy thing, which is ironic because, like I said, like my uncle and some other '90s kids were like biggest stoners. Like, this movie rules, man. It's a stoner comedy,
right.
And I'm like,
but it's like.
But
yeah, I think
it just wasn't. It's just not for me. Like I just didn't. Without the nostalgia of those two time periods, then I just don't. And there's no like significant character growth to latch onto. Like I can maybe kind of latch onto the growing pains of like Pink, and like growing up and being like, oh, authority a little bit. You know what I mean? And like, I don't want to sign your freaking thing, man. I get that.
Right. That like trying to come into your own.
But it's like,
great.
I feel like I'm grasping. Like I enjoy it, but the whole time I'm like, kept finding myself on my phone and stuff. And
dude, do you know what I just realized? We've got to know what we need to do, dude. This would be a great 3-movie set, whatever that's called. I can't even think right now. And it's actually pretty cool because Linklater, I just realized this. He did Dazed and Confused, Suburbia, and that the fucking 80s one. Everybody Wants Some.
Oh yeah, I've heard that's kind of like the spiritual successor to this, which I wanted to see. I heard when it came out it was pretty good and it was like overlooked, which makes sense, you know.
God, he's wild. He's directed some wild stuff. But that like those 3 would be great because Suburbia is totally like
Suburbia's cool. I like Suburbia.
Right. It's that like he just I don't know he captures like a youth really well.
He does, yeah, surprisingly. Because even I wanted to rewatch Boyhood again because it's like,
I loved Boyhood.
I have only seen it the one time, but everyone was so focused on like the gimmick of filming it over the course of like 15 years or whatever, but it's just like he captures this coming of age youth so well for a dude who's like, you know, probably like 60 now, you know. But he really does kind of like, I don't know. I guess he hasn't made one in a minute since Boyhood, but even Boyhood, man, like Boyhood. But he also got the parent side of it. Like, I don't know, like Ethan Hawke and him.
Oh, sure.
I think that's another reason why I like Linklater is because we like the Hawk and they're like, they work together all the time. Like,
and I love that, dude. I love that we should go through and do directors and their companion. They're like,
right, yeah, because we talked about that a little bit with Scorsese and a little bit.
Like all the actors that they need to have in their movies so they can feel comfortable.
Right.
It's like they legally have to have that you know. That actor in there. It's pretty good.
Yeah, man.
Last Flag Flying. What the fuck was that even?
That one was actually pretty good.
It's such a not a Linklater movie.
Have you watched it? Yeah, it
no,
is.
I haven't seen it. Does it feel like it?
Oh, 100%.
Just the premise just doesn't seem like a Linklater movie at all.
It actually feels like maybe more of like a sequel to something like Dazed and Confused because it feels like 3 friends that were good friends back in the day kind of like come together but like as kind of jaded adults. And it's some fucking good performances, honestly, by like a good dramatic, because it's like it's just them on a train and like trying to like kind of like it's like a road trip movie kind of. There's them, but it's just them dialogue 90% of the time, and it's just, you know, Steve Carell being a grieving dad, and like killing it, kind of, but also kind of funny because he's talking with like Forrest Whitaker, and who else is it? Bryan Cranston, right?
Yeah, Brian. Cranston.
It's a good cast, and it's just the three of them just kind of like being like talking about in high school, and then like it has way more emotional depth. I like it way more than Dazed and Confused.
I guess that is Linklater. Linklater does conversation so fucking good,
and that's all.
His,
that movie's
and
good.
And dude,
don't
he
overlook
totally
it.
like
That's
in my
his
writing
thing,
style.
man.
That's like his. I love it, dude. He just has a conversation
That's
and
why I said
usually
it's
in a moving
more-
vehicle. That's his like motif. It's
It
like
is.
a moving vehicle. He fucking loves it.
And it's more naturalistic than like, because we love the dialogue of the Coens, of Tarantino,
Yeah.
Kevin Smith, but it's like they're all kind of cutesy. Like Kevin Smith feels like the heightened, like if you're the dialogue between some of the characters from Linklater movies just started talking, like the stoner and fucking one of the other guys are their best friends, their daily lives conversations. But Linklater, yeah, he just captures more of like a, I don't know, it feels very naturalistic, but like poignant also, even though it's not like important to the plot hardly ever, but it's the conversation feels important to the characters, and so you feel that even if the characters are not like that fleshed out. I don't know, like in this movie,
Slackers is literally just a stitched together conversations. That's what he loves to do, and so it's like you get just the conversation, like when the dude's talking about like all the weed that Lincoln used, or that whatever Washington used to grow, and you're like, what the hell is this like stream of consciousness that's going on with this stoner? And like,
I know,
but it's great. It has like nothing to do with like any kind of plot development or anything. It's just a good like 6-minute conversation.
It's a good bit of conversation, which is just super enjoyable. Like just listening to people talk, a good conversation. It doesn't have to be like, oh, so do you believe in free will? Like, it doesn't have to be like just talking bullshit are some of the best times of my life. And so that's what I relate to most in this movie is just like fucking yapping with my friends and stuff. Which obviously is us right now. Like
that's the nostalgia it gave me.
Yeah.
It's like, I straight up was just like, as we were watching this at the end, Victoria and I looked at each other and we're like, man, we miss our friends. Like, that's the thing I really miss. Like, just having like nothing to do and like,
right, just fucking chatting it up. I do miss that. Nobody ever wants to talk. Every time I try to talk to someone, probably other than you, they're like, "What is your point?" And I'm like, "I don't have a point. I'm just talking."
We only get to talk to each other. We only get to talk to each other because we make it an appointment. If we didn't have this podcast, we would talk like once a month max. And it would maybe for like an hour. It's like without this, it's like, we just she gets in the way, man. And that's what I loved about Dazed and Confused is it felt like for a minute you could just pause.
Great.
Just,
now I'm sad.
Watch them. I know. But know what?
Somebody talk to me.
Well, it's fun. We can something to make you less sad is Matthew McConaughey's. This is his first. It's like his first thing that he ever acted in.
Really? He's really still known for this kind of like.
It's 100% his first thing. He like literally got out of. I don't even think he graduated yet from school, and he like went to this, and he got like on set, and he got casted because he fucking crushed it because he's
he's just like hot and he's got like that like.
And he's just got energy, dude. He's got a charisma. You know for a fact that like he was shooting the shit with them.
I know.
And,
he's just like totally. Hey man, I'll be in your movie, but whatever.
Yeah.
Like if you want, it's cool. Sounds like a happening time, guys. Like.
Oh, totally. Yeah. That whole like all right. That was him 100% improving because like that's what's great about this movie is like Linklater was like, yeah, I got a script, all the situations happened, but the conversations are like. A lot of it's improv. Yeah. And so he's like, here's the structure of the conversation. Like, this is what you're going to say, but how you say it is your own. And so like that, all right, dude. He just like improvised that. And that's his, I forgot it was in this movie. I just thought, I was like, oh, he came up with that in like 2011 or something.
That's like that's like the biggest takeaway from this movie.
Right.
Culturally, really, it's like quote, I mean, it's in a fucking, was in a Sunny episode recently. Yeah. It's funny. I was talking to my mom today. I was like, oh, I got to go find something to talk about Dazed and Confused about. And she's like, I'm like, you ever seen that? Because, I came out around her time. And she's like, I don't know who's in it. And I was like, well, like Matthew McConaughey, Matt Damon, like Mila Jovovich is all in it. But like.
Or not Matt Damon, but his best friend. Affleck.
Yeah, the Affleck,
Yeah.
Ben Affleck.
Danny Affleck.
And I was like, all those characters, but like, you wouldn't really know that it was them because it's like one of their first roles, and they're like teenagers, and it's not like, Ben Affleck isn't on the poster, but Mila Jovovich is, and she doesn't even have any fucking lines, Harley.
Dude, Ben Affleck's not even he's not even in the credits on IMDb. But
And he's definitely like the most famous, probably.
That's what, dude. Victoria and I had this conversation after the movie because I said, oh, Ben Affleck was like the only one that came out of this movie to rocket to stardom, and she was like, well, Matthew McConaughey is probably equal. And I was like, fuck, I guess, yeah, probably. No,
he's
dude,
up there. Ben Affleck. The tabloids wouldn't leave him alone for like 10 years. Like he is in the regular Joe Schmo. Ben Affleck has like 4 Oscars. Like he's way more popular.
All right. I mean, I think he's a director now. I think they're both equally.
He's Batman now. No, I mean obviously I prefer.
Bigger, yeah. I guess worldwide.
I prefer Matthew McConaughey, but I think Ben Affleck was way more famous.
I love Ben Affleck so much. I think his acting's amazing.
He's
I know.
Really?
I don't care what anyone says out there. Yeah, I love it. I love. He just plays an archetype. It's not like, or he plays.
What's your favorite Ben Affleck movie?
I don't know. I mean, I knew you'd ask, and then I can't.
Well, you shouldn't have said.
I know.
How much you want to suck Ben Affleck's dick?
It's probably a Kevin Smith movie, most likely.
It's where he plays a cameo in like Mallrats or something. You're like, he's the ass man. That's his best role. That's the role he was born to play.
I don't know, dude.
He's not even on the main fucking. It's funny, Mila Jovovich is so like prominent too. Well, no, but I don't even remember her talking. But she's on the poster. She's tried in the background.
Yeah, dude. She tried to like drag Linklater down. That's some behind the scenes drama, dude. She came into the movie with like full lines, full character development, and then just got cut apart. And which probably meant she probably just had like as many lines as that like Cynthia character or whatever, or Cynthia character, the like redhead, probably just had where like she had.
I mean, nobody has that many lines. Like to pick a main character, I would say you'd probably like the 2 main characters I mentioned in the synopsis are the only ones that really matter because they're the only ones that have any type of real growth. But it's very surface level. God, you know what my favorite Ben Affleck movie is? I'm looking at his thing now.
Oh, it's Gone Girl, probably.
It's Reindeer Games, obviously.
Yeah,
what's your favorite one? He's actually a lot of stuff. But really,
go listen to that podcast. We did Reindeer Games.
We did do a Reindeer Games podcast for Christmas a while back. No, it's probably Chasing Amy, truthfully.
Yeah, I mean
Chasing Amy, Last Duel or Gone Girl, great. Good.
It was Gone Girl is the one that I was thinking of when I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
Well, it's because but that's the thing, kind of like how I always say Punch Drunk Love is Adam Sandler's best movie, right. up until before he made Uncut Gems. But I was like that, and I still think Punch Drunk Love. But I was like, but it's not an Adam Sandler movie. It's a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. So it's like. I kind of feel that way about Gone Girl. Like, I kind of forget it's Ben Affleck because I'm like, yeah, Ben Affleck's great, but it's not a Ben Affleck movie. That's a Fincher movie, buddy. And the only reason it's good, and he's good, is because Fincher's the fucking best director.
I liked Ben Affleck. I liked Ben Affleck as Daredevil. See, I like him as like his like schlocky kind of dumb stuff. So I wouldn't say he's the best. Like The Town, he's like...
Town's cool, but that's the thing. He directed The Town, too, and I really like it. The Town is great.
Right.
That's his best one directed. Oh, God, dude. Pearl Harbor. I forgot he's in that in fucking Armageddon. Anyway.
God, he's really good.
He's way more famous than fucking... He was in Armageddon and Pearl Harbor, the early 2000s. I'm just saying...
That's the thing.
I know you were
early 2000s. I think that McConaughey
became
the teens.
Yeah, he was... He didn't blow up as like... He was super famous and typecast as like in romantic comedies, and then he didn't blow up and start getting respected until like the till True Detective and fucking like Mud and
Inception.
And he's not in Inception.
Or not Inception.
Brian Melton.
Oh my God, yeah. Interstellar.
Interstellar, yeah. Like all that era.
The same thing.
Where he won the Oscar for like Dallas Buyers Club and everything. Like that's when he really was like the Matthew McConaughey or whatever. Which
Right. When
I'm
he was
the-
in those commercials.
Yeah.
He's rubbing his fingers together.
The Lincoln commercials were.
Yeah.
I'm still there
All
for
right.
it. I like.
All right.
All right.
All right.
All right.
All right.
I'm still there for it. I like me because now obviously.
Well, dude, he's gone nuts. That was the one thing I really wanted to look up before we did this, and I totally forgot. He has like it's like he has an oh my god, what are those called? Like inspirational. He's got like a seminar where he just fucking like goes and he
Oh, that
talks
doesn't
for like
surprise.
4 hours
That does
straight.
not surprise me for some reason. That seems like something he would do. Well, he just
Yeah,
came out
dude.
with his book like last year or whatever too, which everyone was like, "Oh, it's such an
Dude.
it'll change your life."
Just
you know?
Google Matthew McConaughey motivational speech, and he's like, "If I win, I'll be happy. If I don't, I won't. It's an if, then cause and effect, quid pro quo, standard that we cannot sustain because we immediately rise every time we attain it. See, happiness demands a certain outcome." And that's just a little taste, dude.
That's
It's a little taste of what it's. Yeah.
You know what I
Howard.
didn't? And what the best? I'm torn because these two movies are right next to each other on the letterbox I'm looking at. So the best Matthew McConaughey movie is Killer Joe. I don't know. I always forget
right.
about Killer Joe, but it's so fucking good. And if that one's not on our list when we talk about later, remind me because it needs to be if it's not. But it's right
Oh,
next
I
to the
know.
Dark
God.
Tower, which is like the worst.
Yeah.
And I'm
I
like,
know, yeah,
"Oh,
it's-
buddy.
it's-
And he's not good in it either, too. I was like hoping he would actually be good, but he's not.
No, I wouldn't. That's the thing. I like Ben Affleck more because it's like I would watch a movie with Ben Affleck over Matthew McConaughey. Like most likely. If I had to pick, if someone's like, "Oh, you only get to watch one."
I like that Ben Affleck has actually tried to break out and do more, you know. I was excited when he was going to do the stand. But then he became Batman instead, so fuck him. So hopefully the same curse doesn't happen to Robert Pattinson, Batman now. They're both Batman. They're both still Batman in just different universes. Anyway,
so
we're not
weird.
talking about Dazed and Confused because there's nothing else to say.
I know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's
I'm
like-
on a rant about the actors in Dazed and Confused, so it's
Well, I've got some-
tangentially. This is
Here.
the vibes. It's just
I
chill.
know,
We're laid
right?
back.
We've definitely, yeah. Because now I'm like, oh my god, they need to make a like Spider-Verse version of the Batmans and have all of them in there because there's like 8 now right now, so we need to like.
They
get 'em all
probably
together.
are because Michael Keaton is the Batman in the new Flash movie, and those are supposedly in the same universe. Yeah, so I don't know.
Wait, that's tripping me out. He can't be because I thought Ben Affleck was the
Well,
Batman in that universe.
they both are, and I
right?
think
The DC.
I think they're doing
cinematic universe.
like a universe thing, like you're saying.
Oh,
into
they're
this-
crossing the streams.
I
huh?
think they are crossing the stream. So we'll see.
All right. Well, here you go find some Reddits. I'm gonna tell all the fine people at home how much money this fucking movie costs.
Tell them and me.
So what I wanted to do, and as I stall, I can tell you that this movie costs $6 million to make. Like, hey, it's like basically $7 million. It's like 6.9,
Yeah.
which is a healthy, healthy
Sure.
amount.
Sure. Yeah, that's a little more than I would have guessed. But I mean, it's not a lot. But just considering
No.
the low budget feel of this and early, I would have guessed like 3 or 4 mil. But
See, and that's what.
but
what's
that's
wild.
probably how much the movie actually cost, and then half of it probably
Is-
went towards the fucking soundtrack.
Well, just the soundtrack itself wasn't a large part. It was like 1/6 of the budget went to soundtrack, and one song cost 10 times as much as Slacker cost to make. So all of Slacker cost $10,000, and all of one stupid piece of shit Aerosmith song, the opening Aerosmith song, cost $100,000 to get the licensing for
Holy
that one
shit.
song. And Linklater, like a I don't know, I guess he was a director, and he put on his big boy pants, and he was like, I gotta have that song for this stupid part at the beginning. And so he like demanded that it was the one that got
I don't
put in
know.
there.
Some songs,
Cost
if I had
$100,000?
to make my high school story, there would be a couple songs
There'd be some songs
I would
that
have
like
to
you put
die
your
on.
foot down.
But also, I'm also cheap. I'd be like, The $100,000 can go toward. Just give it to me.
Well,
and I'll
it's like,
cut the song.
Exactly.
Like,
well, no, and that's like the thing where it's like, and then Aerosmith didn't want the song on the album, and
God.
the album went double platinum and sold over 2 million copies, and made more than the movie, and they would have gotten back millions, and it's just like wild to think like Aerosmith didn't want it, and so
this is a controversial opinion, but I know you'll agree with me. Fuck Aerosmith. Like,
yeah, right, of course. I mean, you can't. So that's what right now, me and you, you have like a softer spot. Like you like Bad to the Bone.
I mean,
and like
you picked the one song.
I know the one song that I hate Bad to the Bone more than any song in the world.
I hate it too.
Love it.
But it was the George Thorogood was the first CD I ever owned.
I understand. You have a personal connection with that song, and I love you and respect you, but I hate that song.
I can appreciate this whole soundtrack because it's like
Sure.
if you're gonna pick any rock and roll songs from the 70s, you could just pull them off the soundtrack. Like, you don't have to go digging to be like, oh, but they don't have this song, because it's like, I mean, maybe for some of you, but for me, I'm like, if I'm ever in like, oh yeah, I got fucking Fog Hat and Led Zeppelin and shit, like that's what else I need, and fucking Alice Cooper, like that's it, like whatever, you know.
No, I mean, that's the whole thing. Is like the reason I roll my eyes.
Can't believe they paid $100,000 for that. It's fucking insane.
$100,000 for one song. That's wild, and it's like I love that it costs like 10 times as much. I mean, Slackers clearly like has no production value, but it's just funny that like that's the statistic there. But anyway, so it costs around $6 million to make, and they only grossed like $8 million. So it's not like a later.
I bet
it was the
VHS
album
sales and the album. Yeah,
yes,
because this is more like a cult following. Yeah, Criterion.
Right. So it's like he's definitely. I mean, Linklater's gone on. He had success. It's not like this really tanked his career or anything.
Hey,
and so
I don't listen to George Thorogood. Okay, I don't actively. You know what I listen to, Jordan?
Yeah, I know. I'm only making fun of you because that's the one thing where it's like I can't stand that song, and if I had to listen to it, I don't know. Man.
Doesn't it make you think of T2 though? That's the best thing about it.
Oh,
that's why he got so popular. Probably. Bad. All right.
Probably.
Bad.
Please. Can you stop?
So nobody commented on the Reddit except for us and Clones Are People too.
Our boy.
Which I appreciate you, man, for being like one of the only people that actually actively is watching the movies with us. Some other people do, but they just fucking never comment on the Reddit. I talk to them sometimes.
Or when they do, we appreciate it and we like
do.
you.
We like it anyway. We like everything. But so he says, I've seen this 2 or 3 times, but this was the first watch in about 10 years. I quite like Linklater's work, but this is one of my least favorites. It's a pretty standard teen high school film that slants towards Linklater's style of slice of life set in a single day. I think he has much stronger films, and there are much stronger films in this genre. I think it captures the vibe of the time well, and a lot of the people connect to that, but as an early 30s non-American, I just don't connect with this. Totally, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you.
Right. That's fair.
Even as Americans, it's like, if anything, I look at it and I'm like, yeah, this is the generation that's running our country now. So it's Ben Affleck's character is like a governor, you know.
Big time. Well, dude, that's what so this is what I love. This is like, I'm sure you've heard a little bit about this, but in 2004 there was a lawsuit against Linklater because there were three people who wanted to sue him for like, defamation of character, and it's like what was his name? It was like there's someone I think named Floyd Slater and like Wood, whatever that guy's name is, Woodville or whatever. Wooden,
the overall not that guy.
Matthew McConaughey's character.
Not the sex hound guy that's always just like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck her. Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, I know, yeah, him, yeah. Maybe, who knows? But anyways, it was like there were like 3 characters that he used. Like that's what's so great. Go listen to the thing on the Reddit. Like Linklater talks about he's like you can legally use somebody's name, you just can't use like their full name, and you can't like he's like, so I'd use a different kid's name for a different story, but like that was like, my friend's story. And anyways, so he's like, I use these names, and he's like, it's funny because people from the town were all proud of, like, when they were in their 20s, they were all proud of like, oh fuck, look at this, little Linklater made a movie about us. I'm fucking badass, I smoked weed. And then he's like, I guess when they got older and they got kids in 2004, they wanted to sue me because it was like it made them look bad.
Yeah, that tracks.
It got dropped. I mean, it got dropped immediately because it's like
it's fucking nothing. It's like eat my ass.
Yeah, there's. He's backed by a contract and he's backed by a studio that
and
can just be
that's weak as fuck.
There's no likeness. Yeah.
Even if he would have stolen their life, that probably would have won in court.
No, but the funny thing is like they weren't necessarily wrong. Yeah. It's like the thing was he kind of was like, yeah, I'm just using my life and you were part of it, and so it's kind of get fucked really and I love it. I'm like hell yeah, because every time in my entire life, even to this day, right now, this second, when I watch a movie and the end and it says no likeness, no one was used, nothing was that whole that has to have that warning at the end or whatever,
disclaimer,
the legal, the disclaimer. Yeah, it's just I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Every movie ever made has part of you in it, has a story you've experienced or a character So I always thought that was funny, and I'm like, and this movie is Linklater's just
I have to go watch that. I like watching him talk though. I like Linklater's.
He's so cool.
He's an interesting guy. He just seems like he's one of the few directors I would actually want to meet because he seems pretty chill and nice, not super intense and but also he's really creative and stuff. I don't know, some of the directors I wouldn't want to meet Quentin Tarantino or anything. He's probably a jerk, but
yeah.
I mean, I definitely would meet him, but.
I met Paul Thomas Anderson, so he's pretty cool.
I know that didn't happen though. You just say that to make me mad.
David and I met Paul Thomas Anderson.
All right.
Yeah, sorry, bud.
No, we went and saw. Quick side note: we went and saw There Will Be Blood and Punch Drunk Love at Quentin Tarantino's theater in Hollywood, and I left right after the credits because I was pissed because the audience was really annoying. And they couldn't stop laughing during There Will Be Blood to the point I couldn't actually hear the movie, which, There Will Be Blood is a laugh out loud comedy of the fucking summer.
It's not even close to a comedy. It's
people were howling with laughter, the whole crowd. Anyway, so I walked out because I was annoyed, and then David and Jordan oh, we were sitting next to Paul Thomas Anderson the whole time. There's some bullshit.
Look, he came over to us. And he sat down and he said, "Hey boys, did you enjoy the movies?" And we were a little toasty. Don't get me wrong. And we were like, "Yeah, man, we fucking loved it. It was cool."
And then your dad, Paul Thomas Anderson, come be in my next movie.
Our next movie.
I saw your dumb friend outside sulking around.
He's crying his eyes out like a crybaby. And then he's like, I saw you two straight shooters should be in my next film.
Yeah.
And then we were, dude. And then that was me in in his next, I don't know, Magnolia, whatever. I don't know what came after.
Yeah, he's is Philip Seymour Hoffman's son, the guy from Licorice Pizza. That's Jordan, actually.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's all I got to say. Moving on.
Right.
Dazed and Confused is fine. Linklater rules. I'll like anything that he does to a point because it's I can always tell. Even if it's not something I like Bad News Bears or something, it's I can always tell he puts his heart into it, though. You know what I mean? He always just swings for it and gives it.
And it's always a little different
effort.
than I expect.
Yeah.
The trailers do him dirty.
They always try to make it seem more mainstream, but he's always kind of off the grid a little. It's always people are always it's a little more laid down to earth. It's not traditional. I don't know, but anyway.
Yeah.
So the opposite, we're watching the next director. I'm actually kind of surprised.
Really, though.
Not that many people voted, but I thought it'd be a closer race. So the next director we're doing is Robert Zemeckis, and we recently covered Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So go watch that. Go listen to that episode and watch that movie because it fucking rules. But I put on all the big boy hits, though. All the Zemeckis hits. Back to the Future. Castaway. Forrest Gump. The fucking best picture winner, Forrest Gump. Flight, which is apparently pretty damn good. And it's recent. And a lot of people really like it. And Denzel. And Contact, which is a sci-fi classic. And so I was like, that's pretty heavy hitters. But not that surprisingly, because it's the most nerdy-ish and nerd fandoms come out hard.
I didn't know it was going to win. I thought Forrest Gump.
I thought probably Forrest Gump too, but I was like, maybe probably Back to the Future would be the other big one, and it did. Back to the Future won by a mile, but
Contact was in the lead. Contact was in the lead for quite a while, and I was like, oh fuck yeah, dude, I want to watch Contact. That's what I voted for.
And then I voted for Flight because it's the only one I haven't seen all the way.
Yeah.
So we're watching Back to the Future, which is cool. I haven't seen it in a while.
Oh, I'm excited to talk about it. I love it. Yeah.
I like a good time travel movie, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's obviously iconic, so hopefully that'll bring in the people, and that'll be a good shoehorn into next month, which I'm gonna make a post probably tonight about like sci-fi movies. We're gonna do sci-fi. I'll try and break it up throughout the weeks, but just kind of get a vibe on like what are your favorite sci-fi movies out there? You know, limited. I'm gonna put it on there, limited to 3. What are your top 3 sci-fi movies? You know.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
I don't want people dropping like massive lists. You know what I mean? It's like.
Yeah.
But I want to see what you got just to kind of see. I'll break it up and might not even choose any of them. But that'll be a good into it, a good time travel movie. Get us ready, get us all primoed up. But yeah, Zemeckis used to be good too. So we'll talk about him next week because he's not good anymore. He made the worst movie I saw last year.
He did Pinocchio.
Pinocchio, holy shit!
Yeah, he did the
Disney
the
remake.
Drunken,
Holy.
he's drunk off like ether or something. Like you're not even like it's like he made some backyard moonshine. And
I
just
wish,
fucking,
I wish
he like drilled a hole in his head and poured some backyard moonshine down that hole.
Yeah, it's probably just straight up Disney root beer because that's all he's drinking in the movie is root beer.
No, I don't. No, dude, he found the embalming fluid that they got Walt with. He's chugging on that.
Smoking the embalming fluid.
Fucking,
Yeah.
dude.
But
Well,
luckily we're watching
Back to the Future,
we're
so.
watching one of his good movies, which he had some pretty good ones back in the day. So yeah, go watch Back to the Future. Thank you if you made it this far to listening to this, and thanks for anyone participating on the Reddit, Patreons.
Yes, go to Patreon, sign up. You get the Sticker of the Month Club. Everybody who's signed up already, you rock. Love's going out to you. You got some stickers. Actually, I'm holding envelopes right here with more stuff coming your way. So
yep,
appreciate it.
He rocked a sticker on his water bottle. I noticed it at the gym the other day. Cult of
sick,
Sentiment
dude.
Knowledge rocking it. Yeah, baby.
Yeah, he got his package. Hell yeah, dude. Well,
So
enjoy, everybody.
all right, well, thanks for listening, and thank you, Jordan, for being such a delight. Thank you for conversing with me.
Happy to be here.
Until I'm going to be starved for conversation again until next week. So I'm
You
just
got a
gonna
whole week to just sit in your room.
bottle it up. I'm just going to talk to my 3-year-old, and she's actually an okay conversationist these days.
Dude, when she on the pod, baby, that's what we got to get.
But I get her on the
We got to
pod.
get her on the pod. That'd be really cute. All right.
It'd be nonsense. All right.
Yeah, I know. It's beautiful. All right.
Goodbye.
Have a great night.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.